Okay, can you for me? Okay, did you hear me? Can you do the roll
Yes.
call? Thank you.
Yes, please. I will. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Zimmerman.
Here.
Mr. Thane. Ms. Logan.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Moulter.
Here.
Mr. Stevenson.
Here.
Mr. Richards. Ms. Kelly.
Present.
And I do see Bill on the line. I don't know if we got that.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so we have Bill.
Okay, we have quorum.
Thank you.
Selena
Also, we need
is
to,
here.
yeah, Selena Stoller's on now.
Selena's with us as well. Thank you.
Okay, so we do have quorum to conduct tonight's business. Do we have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes from 12/2 and 12/16?
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
from Ann, a second by Todd. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained?
Selena.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
We'll move on to the public hearings. We have RZ 20-5, Cumberland Cottages. I think it's Jesse.
Thank you, Pete. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For the record, Jesse Bochelle, Planning and Zoning. The item before you is RZ 20-5 Cumberland Cottages. The site is located at 13995 Cumberland Road at the corner of Cumberland Road and 141st Street. The petitioner is seeking to rezone the property from the current zoning of R3 to PUDR. As you can see, the property is flanked by R5 and R4 zoning. Let's see. The proposed project will consist of 11 detached units that will range from 2 to 3 bedrooms, and each unit will be spaced 10 feet apart, meeting fire code. The units are geared towards single parents, but are open to all that qualify income-wise, which that is 60% of the median income. Each unit will be around 1,200 square feet and 1.5 stories, and the subject development will be professionally property managed by Bradford Properties. Just to give you an overview of the overall development, the project will be incorporating a community garden, sustainable stormwater management practices with dry detention and rain garden, and will also have low maintenance plantings that are less water intensive and that require less maintenance to keep the area looking nice. Architecturally, the cottages will be incorporating front porches to add to the communal feel that will face the central green. They will also be incorporating a variety of building materials and modulation to break up the facade plane. Each unit will also have a covered parking space that is a covered carport that will have the same building materials that is seen on the facade. And the units will be incorporating natural ventilation and rain capture systems for plantings. Just to give you an idea of the materials that will be used: shiplap accent siding, smooth lap siding, and panel siding recesses with vinyl windows. This was approved by the PUD committee back in January, and the architecture meets the City of Fishers UDO standards. We have received many comments regarding this project. Those have been forwarded on to you. Those comments are related to, density of the project, 11 units on less than 2 acres. The site is 1.82 acres. Some of the concerns have been related to traffic concerns due to the proximity to a busy intersection that has a roundabout, and there with the attached single family to the west, people are concerned about the increase in traffic flow and if it will be safe for those that are trying to turn out into 141st or to Cumberland. Additional safety concerns, besides traffic, have also been those related to this is an affordable housing project. Some concerns about product type and design due to the size of the unit, stating that the development will look somewhat like a tiny house development due to the small footprint of each unit. And other concerns have been related to property values. Many residents in the area have stated that, they think that this project would, decrease their overall property values if it is approved because it is an affordable housing development. The proposed project provides a missing product that is needed in the City of Fishers, as well as it will be managed professionally by the developer to make sure that the property is kept up. Overall, the proposed product meets the architectural standards of the UDO, as well as meets or exceeds the landscaping requirements and site design requirements. They will be increasing the buffer yard to the south and to the west, and they will also have trees planted along 141st and Cumberland Road, so it will not be it will not be highly visible from the road or from the adjacent neighbors. As such, staff recommends Plan Commission send a favorable recommendation to City Council for final reading. And Andrea Davis with HAND, who is the petitioner, is in attendance and will be able to answer any questions and present. Thank you.
Petitioner?
We cannot, or I can't hear her. I can't hear speaking.
Yeah, Pete, we can't hear, or Tony, we can't hear her or see her presentation.
Good evening. There I am. Hello. Good evening. For the record, my name is Andrea Davis. I'm a resident of Fishers and executive director of HAND Incorporated, a nonprofit housing and neighborhood development organization based in Noblesville. HAND has been working to improve lives and build community in central Indiana since 2003, and we're excited about our proposal to build 11 rental cottages at the corner of Cumberland Road and 141st Street in Fishers. Before we get into the specifics of the proposal, please allow me to tell you a little bit about the organization. HAND owns 8 rental communities in Hamilton and Boone counties. We have properties in Carmel, Noblesville, Cicero, Sheridan, and Lebanon, and we are finalizing our plans to build 5 units of senior housing in Tipton. Most of our properties are small, 11 units or less, and they are designed to fit into the neighborhoods where they're located. At HAND, we know where we live impacts every aspect of our lives. Our homes are the foundation for our health, education, safety, and economic well-being. HAND helps the working poor build a strong foundation for their future. We already have invested more than $21 million in suburban housing, most of it for seniors. We're also a founding member of the Hamilton County Home Repair Partnership, and during the COVID-19 crisis, HAND has provided more than $325,000 in emergency housing assistance to over 200 households in Hamilton and Boone counties. The first few communities HAND built were designed and reserved for seniors 55 and older. HAND also rescued 3 historic buildings in downtown Noblesville, which are now home to 14 one-bedroom apartments. And in 2018, we built 2 3-bedroom houses for families as part of our Home Place Gardens development in Carmel. Our focus now is on workforce housing, something for folks in the service and retail industries who aren't in position to buy a home yet and who can't afford to pay market rate rent. The United Way's most recent ALICE report estimates that a family of 4 living in Hamilton County needs to earn more than $80,000 a year just to afford the basics here. Our housing costs are one of the reasons one of the most affluent counties in the state is also home to more than 3 dozen food pantries. The demand for workforce housing is growing because of a disconnect between housing costs and income. 48% of Hamilton County's workforce is employed in the 7 lowest wage industries, many of which also happen to be among the fastest growing. Almost 3/4 of those working in Hamilton County are burdened by the cost of housing here. Having more affordable housing options in Fishers will allow people to live closer to where they work, which means our educators, retail clerks, and hospital workers can play a larger role in our community and our local economy. The economic disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic made it clear how many of our neighbors are living close to the edge. As I mentioned earlier, HAND has provided more than $325,000 in rental, mortgage, or utility assistance since August, and more than $38,000 of that has helped 22 households in Fishers. We firmly believe that Fishers needs more affordable options like Cumberland Cottages. This would be our first property in Fishers and our first designed specifically for working families. To that end, we've agreed to purchase almost 2 acres of mostly vacant land at the southwest corner of Cumberland Road and 141st Street, where, as I said, we'd like to build 11 detached 2- and 3-bedroom cottages clustered around shared green space. As you can see, the south side of the property is adjacent to just 5 single-family homes, 2 of which are not owner-occupied. This land, previously home to a farmhouse, has been for sale off and on for years. We're still fine-tuning the architectural and interior design of the units, but these renderings show the basic concepts that's on the drawing board. The units will each have a porch and a covered carport. HAND prides itself on building quality, affordable housing. So what does that mean? We use building materials and appliances that are energy efficient and as a result, cost-effective for our residents. Exterior materials are durable and easy to maintain, and our properties are well maintained and managed by professionals. We utilize universal design principles to ensure our housing is accessible to everyone. The bottom line is, if it's not a place we would live, it's not a place we would expect others to move into or live next door to. It's also worth noting that we are not absentee landlords. HAND is active in the communities where we have properties, so any potential problems can be addressed quickly. It seems relevant to mention here that of the 50 letters we were required to send to adjoining property owners to let them know about this hearing, 14 went to addresses outside of Fishers or Noblesville. That's 28% of neighboring properties that are not owner-occupied. In contrast, I live almost exactly 3 miles away from this site, and I can assure you that it will be a regular part of my drive to work. We want to be a good neighbor, and I think our current neighbors would tell you that we live up to that aspiration. That's why we hosted 2 public input sessions, one in person and one online, in December, to open the lines of communications with our neighbors. HAND has been doing this long enough to know about what neighbors think when they hear about plans to build affordable housing. The imagination goes wild. So I'd like to take a minute to provide some facts about one of the most persistent misperceptions, and it's one that Jesse mentioned a minute ago. Affordable housing does not lower the value of surrounding properties. In fact, national studies have shown that attractively designed, well-maintained affordable properties have positive impacts on neighborhoods. A few years ago, researchers at the real estate firm Trulia studied the effect of low-income housing built in the nation's 20 least affordable metro areas from 1996 to 2006 and found no significant effect on nearby home values. In Denver, in fact, homes located near low-income housing gained value. That's what HAND found too. We reviewed the assessed values of the 60 residential properties adjacent to one of our affordable communities in Hamilton County. From 2014 to 2020, assessed values increased across the board, ranging from an average gain of 18% near Plumtree Gardens in Noblesville to more than 65% near Lakeside Gardens in Cicero. And that's set of myths relates to who lives in affordable housing. I won't repeat them since they're rooted in stereotypes rather than reality, but I can tell you that we typically serve residents who already live or work nearby and simply pay too much for housing. I've already heard from a Topgolf employee who's interested in living at Cumberland Cottages, and I'm sure more will surface as this project moves forward. I wish we could start construction tomorrow. All of our residents must demonstrate that they have enough income to pay the rent and that they don't make more than 60% of area median income. That's about $39,000 a year for a two-person household or $49,000 a year for a family of 4. And tenants are subjected to a rigorous approval process that includes a criminal background and credit checks, as well as annual income verification. Tenants must have income. We haven't set rents yet, but they likely will range from about $650 a month to $1,150 a month. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development sets rent limits each year. We're here this evening, obviously, because HAND is seeking to rezone the property to allow for additional units per acre. This slide provides a snapshot of the density in the surrounding area. I'll note this property north of 141st Street is actually in Noblesville, and then the property to the west of us, Country Fields of Fishers. Both of those, I took the same size screen grab of this map, and you'll see our proposed site is much less dense than our neighbors. And here you can see those, the same size.
So I'm not seeing anything. I'm following along on the packet, but there's nothing on our end that's coming through, just so you know. I can see you speaking and I can hear you, but I'm not seeing the presentation.
Okay.
But I've reviewed the presentation, so I'm following along. I'm familiar with what you're saying, but just so everybody on here, they realize that nobody on here can see it.
Thank you for that. Thanks for helping out here. Can you see it now? Can you see it now?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's up
Thank you
there
for that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, these are the same size snapshots of the same map showing to the north 24 units in the same amount of area, 25 units to the west. Cumberland Cottages would be much less dense than our neighbors to the north and west. This is just a snapshot of what the properties in those neighborhoods look like, just for reference. And finally, I just want to say it's becoming increasingly clear that communities like ours need a wide range of housing options to accommodate residents throughout the different stages of their lives. HAND is ready to help if you'll let us. Thank you for your time and attention this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions the Plan Commission or others have.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank
Public
you.
hearing, Tony?
Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, we need to open a public hearing and see if
I don't know how to
anyone.
undo this.
So I want to make sure that, we have had a number of letters and remonstrance. Those have all been shared with all the planning commission members. You should have received those. So hopefully that's there. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Andrew, what do you need? Oh, I think it'll go automatically once, well, maybe not.
And we can
Go for
still
days
see the
of live meetings
presentation.
again.
So we can see the presentation. We can't see at the podium. So if there's somebody that comes up, we can't see that.
I think we're back to being good. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for members in the audience first and not on the Teams call. So is there anyone from the audience who would like to come and speak on this topic? Please understand that when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes in which to speak. Raise your hand if you'd like to come to the podium and I'll call you up. Yes, ma'am.
It's muted. Tracy, can
Oh.
you unmute because we can't hear anything here?
My name is Carrie Basso. I live at 14325 Orange Blossom Trail. I live in the Woodbury complex, not too far from where this proposed site is. I think it sounds great, but my concern, actually I hadn't even had thought about the traffic, but there is a lot of traffic down that road. We are saturated with rentals in this area. And yes, there are rentals in the areas, in the communities around me, and the communities pay the price for those rentals. The properties aren't maintained usually very well. I personally have picked up trash along 141st Street and Cumberland Road because people literally throw things out the doors of the cars as they're driving. It's a move for me. I'm a 20-year resident here. I lived in downtown Fishers, and when things started getting really congested, my family and I moved to the north. So we're kind of in no man's land because we're in that neighborhood. We're right in between Noblesville and Fishers. So I almost feel like it's a very neglected area as it is. And then having that space, it was nice just having some green space. There's been so much building done, especially in downtown. It's completely changed the feel of the neighborhood. And it's just kind of nice to have a part of Fishers that's still pretty open. When you see something that's green, I just don't understand why we always have to put and build things in every place where there's grass. I mean, it's just nice to be able to walk down there, and I understand, you know, having no plantings, that sounds great, but I think it is pretty dense, and I'd rather, if you're going to build some affordable housing, I'm a single mom, I live on less than $40,000 a year, I have 4 children, I bought 2 houses with that. I cleaned houses for 10 years. So I'm very much in that income bracket that she's speaking of. So I think there's lots of available rentals that are low income for people that want them. I know there's a new one down on Lantern Road. It has 62 units. There's Cumberland Crossing that's there. I think 11 units doesn't really make a big divot in that. And if you're going to use that for residents, why not make those affordable homes people can buy? I mean, I'm in that income bracket. I was able to buy 2 homes in Fishers, one just a year and a half ago. I think that this is not out of anybody's price range to be here. But I also understand wanting a home. I wanted a home. I didn't want to live in an apartment. So, but I think those would be better fit for someone who truly wants to have a home, maintain a home, not a property manager. Because when you have a lot of renters, they don't really care about the community. And just listening previously to what's happening in Eagle, was it Eagle, Trace, wherever you guys are doing that?
Gray Eagle.
Gray Eagle, thank you, where you live. Yes, you want things to be consistent with what you already have there. When looking at these mock-ups, this doesn't look consistent with this area at all. As a matter of fact, it looks subpar. It looks just about, to me, a step above a trailer home. They're very simple. They look like milk carton houses. There's no structural accents to them. They're very plain. A carport, I haven't seen a carport here in Fishers. That's a concern to me. So
You need to finish up, ma'am.
yeah, anyway, I'm just hit all those points. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I think I saw, ma'am, you know? Not going to start you until you get out. How's that? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Em Barwas. I live in Fishers, and I wear 2 hats here tonight. I am a member.
Address, ma'am?
Right across the street here, 11710 Lake Circle.
Thank you.
Sunblest Apartments. So I am a board member of HAND, and I fill one of the required board member slots, that being someone who qualifies financially to live in affordable and low-income and workforce housing. Here's my situation. I'm 71 years old. I sustained an incomplete spinal cord injury in 1985 when I was 35 years old. I was immediately paralyzed from the chest down. In the past 36 years, with almost continuous therapy, today I can walk sometimes with and sometimes without assistance. Unfortunately for me, Cumberland cottages won't be available to me or others like me because they will be two-story homes. And I'm a little bummed about that. I'm on the board, think I could get in, you think? Maybe? Anyway, I currently live, as I said, next door to City Hall and the fire department and the amphitheater. It's great to be close to all these things. However, the noise from the amphitheater multiple times a week left me last year looking for a new, quieter home. I couldn't find anything that I could afford in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment for rent anywhere in Fishers. Currently, we pay $1,400 a month rent for the 3-bedroom apartment, carport, and garage. I say we because it takes 3 of us to stay there. I pay $300 for the utilities, and the other 2 house buddies cover the rent. That's $1,700 out of our fixed income budget. In fact, I've lived there for 13 years, and as property values have gone up, the ability to raise the rent has gone up so much that in 13 years, just my base rent is now $300 a month more than when we moved in 13 years ago. So, for myself and for others, I strongly support Hand's proposal to build the 11 rental cottages at Cumberland Road and 141st Street. I also hope Fishers will continue to support the good development of affordable housing and low-income housing and workforce housing. And it's too bad we have to be so careful with what words we use to describe the less expensive housing that would fit all of our needs. I sincerely hope that working together, we are now going to grow Fishers into a city with housing for all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I would like to leave my letter of support with someone. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak on this topic? The live audience I'm talking about? Seeing no one there, is there anybody online? And Tracy, I may need help with this. So if there's anybody online that would like to make a public comment, I don't know whether we can raise hands or, Tracy, we shouldn't have anybody there?
It's only open to the applicants and staff.
Okay, so there's no one there then? And we fulfilled our public hearing with the comments online and the various methods that they were able to go ahead and get those remonstrances in on.
Correct.
Okay, so getting advice from our attorney staff over there, we have fulfilled that obligation for the public hearing, so I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'll now open it up to our planning commission members for comment. So is there anyone on the planning commission that would like to make comment? Or I'll jump at once.
Hi, this is Kim Logan. I would like to make a comment. I think what Hands is doing is a great organization. Everything that they're doing is great. I think this location is terrible for this project, though. I happen to have family that lives in Country Fields of Fishers, which is directly to the west of this property. And honestly, making a left-hand turn to come to my house from that property is scary at best. And sometimes I have to just take a right and do the roundabout to get through. It is not safe because people are coming from 37 and there's no stop between there and Country Fields at Fishers. So they're coming along at a pretty good clip. I also think putting 11 units into this area is way, way too many. If you said 6, I think I would be a much more feeling like that this is a good idea. But I can't imagine there aren't 2 acres, or this is 1.8 acres in Fishers that would be at a less dense area. It is right by the roundabout, which you have people coming from 146th Street down Cumberland, from the east on 141st, and from the south on Cumberland also to that roundabout. I have, if she would have shown to the east of this property on the other side of Cumberland Road, Plantana neighborhood is a single family home. It is nothing like Country Fields of Fishers or to what's to the north of what this would be, which are condos and townhomes. So the density, the majority of the area around there is single family homes. It is not condos. And I just think that a better location I would totally support. I just can't support this location because it's so close to that roundabout. It is not a safe place to put, even closer to than Country Fields of Fisher. So if anyone wants to respond, I'm just very concerned about the safety issue there and the density. 11 homes, if you have that green space, I mean, you're talking no yard, basically. And I am also concerned about the carports. I didn't know about that till tonight. That is not consistent at all. Like Country Fields of Fishers and to the north, they all have garages. So again, this is not a project that I think we couldn't find 2 other acres within Fishers, or maybe even a bigger spot to put 11 homes.
Thank you, Kim. Todd, I think I saw you leaning forward. Do you want to make a comment?
Yeah, first of all, Andrea, I think the presentation is outstanding. I think that the mission behind Hand is fabulous. I think the location is where I really struggle with the location piece. I really feel like is a safety issue. And I also, somebody made a comment also as well with regard to, opportunity for people to have home ownership as well. And with regard to rentals that are available right in that area and the surrounding area. The project, the thought and the heart behind it, and I want to make sure I'm very clear with this. The heart behind this, I think, is outstanding. So I don't want you to take this as against what you're doing or what I believe is kind of a ministry to people that really that want to have a nice place to live and have a place that's affordable to them. I really I drove the area just to make sure. Because I was like, man, I can't picture where there's less than 2 acres right by a roundabout that would be something to fit this in. So I'm not supportive of the location. I am supportive of the heart behind this. So I wish it was in a different spot. I think also if you're able to find a different spot, and I know COVID has really impacted this, so there's nothing you can really do about this other than once we emerge from all this madness, to be able to talk with the residents instead of, I know you have to send out letters to residents, but to actually talk to residents and show them maybe even a way for people to see what was done in Carmel, what was done in other communities, so people can see that product. I don't know how you go about that exactly, but just know that I'm supportive of what you do. I just can't support this location. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Is there anybody else on commission who would like to make a comment? Selena, looks like you're moving forward and moving your lips, but we can't hear you.
It helps if I unmute. There we go. Okay. When I look at this, I take into consideration that we have a couple of other, workforce, low-income type housing projects that we put in. One that we've recently put in. When I look at our housing stock, I don't see that type of product from where the person that is in that type of house or even in a regular apartment complex can step into home ownership. I feel that these type of houses would be a great opportunity for people to step into home ownership. I do agree that putting 11 houses on this is a little bit much. And would like to see them spread out a little bit more. But I'm just, I'm not in favor of it. I would be more in favor of it if it provided an opportunity for home ownership, because that's something that we do not have in our stock in our community.
Anyone else on the commission like to make any comments? I can't see everybody's name, so I'm just trying to remember who's there. Bruce, Howard, Kim already made a comment. Who else do we have?
Rick Spain's on the line.
Rick. I don't want to miss anybody if they want to make a comment. Okay, I don't see anybody jumping up and unmuting. Ann, would you like to say anything? Okay, no comments from Ann. I guess I'm the last guy to make a comment. It's interesting, you know, this proposal's been, you know, put out there and you know, I've been on council now for 4 terms, and it's amazing to me what the community will get fired up about. And, you know, we do a lot of stuff here in Fishers that attracts a lot of attention by a lot of people. And I can tell you that for the most part, I do not get the outpouring of results on, or you know, remonstrance from people. I received well over 50 phone calls on this. And I am well understand that we're a republic and I'm elected to do a job and it's my decision to make, and they put me in there and make it. However, I can't start ignoring any and all those comments that have come, because I've gotten calls from current police officers, former police officers, firemen, residents, elected officials from various other parts of the county that have various amounts of problems with the project in total. I too am not in favor of the location whatsoever. It is way too dense, way too many problems. The woman who spoke first, I couldn't agree with you more. You're at the northern edge of Fishers, and I think that'd be a perfect place for a park, but I got to talk to my mayor about that, spending the money. It's also a gateway coming down Cumberland as you come into the school corporation. I'm not saying that the product can't fit somewhere else, Andrea. I think it probably can. That particular location just screams a lot of problems for me. You know, I was on the PUD committee. I'm not thrilled about the way they look, but overall, I just think this could be better suited somewhere else. Again, great group. Love what you guys are doing. I'm just not really sure we found the correct, you know, fit for the right location here in Fishers to kind of put this in. And I think there could be others. I think if you continue to work with staff, you may find that. So I'm not going to be in favor of this. So if there's no other comments by our planning commission members, I'm going to entertain a motion that someone wants to make.
Hey, Pete, this is Howard. If I may I make a few comments?
Sure.
Yeah, I think I am in support of this. I wanted to hear from Jesse because he addressed or highlighted the concerns that we had from those who remonstrated and sent in letters. But I wanted to see if he could maybe talk further or give us a comment as it relates to the traffic concerns and also the safety issues that may have been raised in the remonstration.
Jesse, do you have anything? Jesse?
Yeah, Pete, we worked with engineering on this. You know, there is concerns about side access with a right in, right out onto, you know, 141st Street and a right out on Cumberland Road, just due to the proximity of the roundabout. Not that it can't be done, just work as some concern from engineering related to that. As well as with the dry detention, you know, it would require that there be wooden bollards that were put around that, which is required with any development that has something that close to the road. But from an engineering perspective, you know, it wasn't, you know, they weren't against it, but they were concerned about, you know, just the proximity to the roundabout. So.
Did that help, Howard?
Yes, it did. Thank you, Jesse.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Again, if there's no other comments by commission, and Andrea, I'll point out, regardless of what happens here at planning commission tonight, you still get to go in front of city council. So your voice is going to be heard there again. So, you know, again, we only make a recommendation. We don't do a final approval. Final approvals by council. So you can make all those comments and just take note of them as you move into, is that next week?
The 15th, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 15th. So, yeah, so it's coming up. So, again, I'll entertain a motion if we have a motion by someone.
I can make a motion. I will motion to send an unfavorable recommendation. It's RZ 20, so that's unfavorable recommendation to city council.
Okay, so I have a motion to make an unfavorable motion. And second was from?
Selena.
Selena, okay.
I would suggest a roll call vote.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a roll call vote. So Kay, if you wouldn't mind doing a roll call, please?
Yes, of course. Mr. Stewart,
Aye.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Aye.
Aye.
Todd, we can hear you.
thank you.
Yeah, you're
Mr.
welcome.
Sane,
Aye.
Ms. Logan,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Moulter,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Nay.
Thank you. Ms. Stoller,
Aye.
Ms. Kelly,
Aye.
and Mr. Richards, have you joined? No. So the ayes have it.
Okay, so we have a unfavorable motion moving to city council. Move on to the next item on the agenda, which is LZ 21-1 to preserve at Great Eagle PUD. I think that is,
That'll be me.
oh, that's Tony.
Yeah. So good evening, Tony Bagato, Director of Planning and Zoning. Let me pull my screen up here. The item before you is the rezone known as the Preserve at Great Eagle. Hopefully it should be this one.
Tony, we can't see the screen.
Yeah, I'm still loading.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So again, it's a rezone, 21-1 Gray Eagle PUD. As you'll recall, probably 4 years ago, Ittown Church had come to the city looking at trying to rezone this area. Well, through a plat, we found out that the PUD did not allow the church use, even though it was zoned residential. And we tried to rezone it, do a text amendment. It did not go through. There was a lot of concerns with that traffic. But at that time, there was conversations with both Gray Eagle HOA and the property owners of the golf course. And the concerns we heard from the golf course owners was that the golf course was not sustainable long-term without some kind of solution to the property. And one of the reasons they were trying to sell to Ittown Church was to take that money to rehab the golf course and the driving range and make the clubhouse more appealing for more visitors. And so this has been 3 years in the making that the city has been involved. The mayor and council member Brad DeReamer, who used to be on the Planning Commission, were heavily involved in working with this neighborhood and the HOA. I had some meetings with the HOA as well early on. And so this is a plan that's come to fruition over several years in coordination with the city and the HOA as well as the golf course owners. So in front of you tonight is the proposal. It's located at it's on the southeast corner of Brook School Road and 126th Street. And again, it's a portion of the driving range today at Gray Eagle. And so the proposal is for a maximum of 155 units. There's a garden-style apartment in the middle of the site. That's the big, large brown building on the site plan. And then there's two smaller product that's more residential.
Tony, I'm sorry to interrupt. We're just seeing or I'm only seeing the first slide. I don't know if it seems like you're talking about other slides.
And it's for the
Maybe.
Cumberland Cottages. It's not for this,
Yeah.
It
this
says
item.
Cumberland Cottages.
It's
Okay,
the
I got
first
wrong
item that we
presentation.
heard, so we need to move off of that.
Yeah, sorry, I pulled up that's the wrong presentation. Technology's fun. Okay, so should be this one now. Okay.
There we go.
There it is.
Just
Okay,
right
sorry.
now.
So again, here's the overall aerial with the site plan in black and white showing kind of more detailed construction plans. Again, it's at Brook School Road and 126th Street. Here's the concept plan as part of the PUD. Again, the garden-style apartment complex is in the middle there, in the middle of the site, the brown building, larger building. And then there's two residential kind of townhomes and cottage home developments. This product is, I know it's age targeted. I don't recall if it's age restricted. I think the petitioner can answer that, but this is geared towards retirees. So this serves a different product that won't have a lot of children and a lot of families. It's meant to be kind of a smaller step down for people looking for less maintenance. Again, it'll be a maximum of 155 units total. The architecture consists of like an English style architecture with limestone and other features that were a part of the Plan PUD committee tonight. It was reviewed and received unanimous approval by the PUD committee. These are an example of the townhome styles. These are attached paired townhomes. Here's a development kind of just showing the view within the development and around the amenity area. The amenity area consists of a clubhouse with a pool, bocce ball courts, pickleball courts, some TVs, and as well as outside Wi-Fi access. They will also have the ability to go to the driving range and work through the HOA and connect to the golf course. So with that, staff has received many letters of support. Before, when it went to City Council for first reading, we've received some support before Plan Commission tonight. We have heard from some comments at Greystone initially, and as well within the last day or two, just some overall traffic concerns. And a letter was provided to the Plan Commission from A&F, as well as our engineering director, that they believe that there is no traffic concerns here. Really, with an age-targeted, age-restricted product, there's not going to be conflict with the AM or PM peak times, and they don't foresee that being an issue there. There'll also be some sidewalk improvements to connect pedestrian flow better along 126th Street, Brook School Road. And so that'll improve the pedestrian access in this area. And staff is supportive of this and available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Tony. I think we have the petitioner online, Steve Harden.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Randy or Mark, do you guys have our little slide deck we can pull up? Mark Leach, are you going to try to pull it up? Okay, great. Thanks. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. For the record, my name is Steve Harden. I'm a partner in the law firm of Fagery Drinker, and I'm pleased to be here representing J.C. Hart in their proposed Preserve at Gray Eagle development. With me from the J.C. Hart team, we have Todd May and Johnny Hart. We also have Randy Sherman, the architect for J.C. Hart, Andy Taylor, the engineer from Kimley Horn, our land planner from our office, Mark Leach, and then we also have from the Gray Eagle HOA, Dave Brackenhoff and Ron Diamond. Mark, can we go to the next slide? So as Tony mentioned, and many of you may be aware, back over 2 years ago, it was stated that the golf course was going to close the golf course. And the HOA board, instead of getting upset about that and being angry about it, decided to try to be proactive and to come up with a solution that would help save the golf course. So the HOA board then had the strategic decision to try to satisfy 4 goals. Number 1, keep the golf course a golf course, keep the clubhouse and the driving range, improve the course and maintain the level of play and standards, provide for a longer term solution, and then provide for an opportunity that if the course is no longer economically viable, it would be green space, open space, and not some type of other development. To achieve those goals, the board had identified, this was a couple of years ago, that they'd be willing to accept some type of redevelopment of a portion of the driving range. And the driving range itself is about 40 acres, which is significantly larger than the normal 10 to 12 acres for a driving range. Mark, can you go to the next slide? Mark Leach, can you check? Okay, thank you. So one of the things that was important from the beginning of this, Todd May from J.C. Hart is a Gray Eagle resident. Randy Sherman, the architect, is a Gray Eagle resident. Myself, I'm a Gray Eagle resident. Todd and I both live on the golf course. And the board, the HOA board, created a task force of residents who are interested to try to think through what would be appropriate and something that could be supported on the redevelopment area of the driving range that would then help fund upgrades to the clubhouse, fund improvements to the golf course, and protect the golf course long into the future. And as it discussed and strategized, the idea of working with J.C. Hart and having an age-targeted 55 and better multifamily development came to light. All of this was, while this was happening, was being done with the encouragement and guidance of Mayor Fadness, Councilman DeReamer, numerous other council members who have spent time and energy giving guidance and thoughts, the planning department, the engineering department, the golf course owners, the J.C. Hart team, the Gray Eagle board, and many, many others to try to sort through how do you balance all of the competing interests to come up with something that people will like, that will fit in, and that will serve the purposes and goals of what the community was seeking to do. Mark, you can go to the next slide, please. And so J.C. Hart, who is the proposed developer for the project that you're going to see this evening, they're a local company, have been in business for 50 years. I believe they're on their third generation. J.C. Hart has also developed nearby the Hamilton multifamily development. It's part of Hamilton proper, right there just near 116th and Hoosier, just south of 116th Street on the east side of Hoosier as you enter into Hamilton proper. They've also developed the district at Saxony and manage other properties throughout Fishers and Hamilton County particularly. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And so I'm going to turn this over to Randy Sherman here in just a moment to walk through the kind of the site plan and the architecture and the theme. And so Randy, if you wouldn't mind doing that, that'd be great.
Thank you, Steve. This project, if we can go to the next slide.
Do you want to back up? Can we back up a second,
Yeah.
Mark? Mark Leach, you're going too fast through these, please. Just stop.
There we go.
Pull back for just a moment. One more, Mark. We have the overall aerial so everybody can see that. So go ahead, Randy.
Okay. So with this slide, the corner in the upper left is Brook School on 126th Street. That is the existing location of the clubhouse for the golf course and the driving range. And the golf course winds through the Gray Eagle residential development to the east and to the south. So if we can go to the next slide. This is a blow up of that corner at 126 and Brook School. In the yellow area is the proposed new driving range area. It will still maintain the existing clubhouse location, but it'll be fully remodeled and amenitized. And we'll keep the golf cart storage building in the current location in the upper right corner of that yellow area. And then the area defined in the red would be the new residential development proposed to the south that we're discussing this evening. And the existing pond along Brook School Road in this area would be maintained and stay. And next slide, please. The proposed development would be 155 maximum dwelling units. We would have the garden style building in the middle and then two other building types, master down paired patios and 20 ranch style paired units. It's a project that would total $30,750,000, start in the winter of 2021 if approved, and would be available in early fall of 2023 as a finish date. Next slide, please. This is an overall aerial with the proposed residential development overlaid. We will be adding a new detention pond to the upper east corner of the multifamily, and we will be enhancing the southern boundary of the driving range with mounding, landscaping, and a driving range net to help define the edge of the driving range. And next slide. This is a blow up of the residential area of the site. As was mentioned earlier, the brown building is the garden style building. It's 3 stories in the center, stepping down to 2-story wings at each end at the north and the south. Those wings would have a parking garage at the lower level with 50 cars in each half, or 1 parking space per individual flat. The amenity space in the center, the clubhouse would have the leasing area, club room, exercise facilities, public restrooms, and other amenities that would then overflow to the outdoor amenities amenity area to the rear of the building facing east towards the golf course overlooking the new pond at the northeast corner. These amenities would include a pool, bocce ball courts, grilling area, outdoor Wi-Fi cafe space, and outdoor television viewing. And the building would have in its foreground along Brook School Road, 1.5-story attached townhomes with private 2-car garages and driveway space to allow for 2 guest parking areas. And each unit would have its own private covered rear porch and covered front porches. The east and south edges of the development step down in scale one more time to 1-story attached doubles. These are 2-bedroom den, 2-bath, again with attached 2-car garages and driveway guest parking for 2 cars per unit. Next slide, please. This is a entry view of the central Garden Flats building. It's designed as an English Tudor clubhouse character with a mix of stone and brick and painted trim and siding. The approach is to an auto court, which is enclosed with an English hedgerow and would have a English garden in its center, would have a covered entry to the clubhouse in the background. Each of the dwelling units would have a private outdoor deck. As you can see in these slides, some are screened in and some are open. A lot of the dwelling units would also have bay windows in their living rooms, and the upper floors would have opportunity for vaulted ceilings in the main living space of the dwelling units. Next slide, please. This is a view from the drive connecting to the north, which would be shared with the clubhouse entry off of Brook School Road. Existing pond along Brook School is to the right, pickleball court just beyond that in the foreground, in front of the attached 1.5-story townhomes in the background. And the large garden building you can see is 3 stories in the middle and steps down to 2 stories at its edges to be in context with its surroundings. Next slide, please. This is a rear view of the amenity area behind the clubhouse with the cabana and pool and the outdoor grilling area, Wi-Fi cafe area, outdoor TV viewing and bocce ball court. And the golf course views would be off to the right. Next slide, please. This is the southern entry along Brook School Road that's aligned with the school building entry across the street. This is the rear view of the attached cottages as they would front Brook School Road. Next slide, please. This is just going in that entry drive to the south a little further so that we can see the fronts of the attached cottages. They would also have front entry porches, the garage tucked between these porches, and a second floor loft space in some of the units. And just in the background in the upper right, you can see the 3-story garden style building with its roof line stepping down to 2 stories is tucked into the character of what's around. Next slide, please. This is a front view of the 1-story cottages at the south and east ends of the site. They again also have the private drives and garages and covered front entry porches. Next slide. And this is our final architectural slide of the rear of the attached 1-story cottages. This view is along the southern boundary with a view of the golf course in the background on the far right hand of the slide, showing just the way we're stepping down the massing to be low impact to the single family to the south. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Steve.
Thank you, Randy. Let's see, what do we have next? Thank you, Mark. I think David Brackenhoff and Ron Diamond. I think David has a few comments. David is the current Gray Eagle HOA board president. So David, if you've got a few remarks, that'd be awesome.
Good evening. Thanks, Steve. I am Dave Brackenhoff, and as Steve had mentioned, I do serve our Gray community as the current HOA president. As I shared at the January 19th City Council first reading on the project, I have been deeply involved in this resolution of this issue for 4+ years. And to be transparent, I do not live on the golf course or near the golf course. This Preserve at Gray Eagle project is the culmination of efforts for over the past 2.5 years, a project that was initiated by a Gray Eagle residents and evolved to a broader collaboration to preserve the Gray Eagle golf course and protect the Gray Eagle homeowner property values. As Gray Eagle homeowners, through our HOA, we articulated 4 key goals with respect to the golf course as articulated by Steve Harden earlier. This multifamily development becomes a financial engine that permits the attainment of the Gray Eagle stated goals. Working with Gray Eagle residents and the golf course owners, the city will help preserve an estimated $27 million of property values for Gray Eagle homeowners and the tax base for the city. Taking into all the factors for consideration, the buffer zones, the marathon, gas line, integrated designs to the area, we are very pleased with the carefully planned design by J.C. Hart, both in the pros development and the enhancements, refurbishments of the golf course. The Gray Eagle HOA board unanimously supports this development proposal. The board presented this project to over 170 residents at a January virtual town hall, and to date, we have received 100% positive feedback on the project. In fact, I have been CC'd by over 30 email communications that went to various city council representatives, Tony Magada, as well as Mayor Fadness. Over this long haul, we are very appreciative of this committee, Tony Magada, Mayor Scott Fadness, our city council members and other city administrators, the golf course ownership team, and the developer J.C. Hart Company for their collaborative work over a long time to create the solution. That really, I hate to use the old sales terminology, but it is a win-win-win for everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate your and Ron's leadership from the HOA. And with that, we would open it up for any questions or comments, or if you would like to hold the public hearing, we'll do that afterwards as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. I'm going to go ahead and open it for any members still present here in chambers and open a public hearing. Does anyone like to speak on this topic? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Please note that we have received remonstrance online, therefore fulfilling our obligation for the public hearing. Is there any comments from my planning commission members?
Pete, yeah, this is Todd. I just want to say congratulations. This is the gold standard when you're serving a community, especially on a city council. A lot of things we hear is just negative. I mean, when you serve in a community, you really, the problems are the things that you hear about. And those that have done that realize it, or any kind of leadership. It's not just city council. It's any leadership in anything you do in life. You just get most negative. And I just want to applaud. I know, first of all, the residents of Gray Eagle. I know that they went through a lot over the last couple of years, and just between a possible church location being there to coming to this product that I think is outstanding. They are not exaggerating when they say that there's what I know of is 100% support from the community, and that's what's so amazing, and I think speaks volumes. I know Brad Dreamer, I just want to give kudos to him. I don't know that he's on this call, but kudos to him for working with the residents and the mayor and staff and everyone else involved, just because you don't come along this very often. I wish that every project went like this, because it was really community driven, and the residents are happy. We're finding a good solution that provides the economic relief that's needed there, but also a nice new opportunity for other residents to enjoy the community. So I applaud everybody. I'm going to be fully supportive.
Anyone else online from the commission that would like to make a comment?
I just want to say, I think this has been a model project that the residents have put together. If there's anyone willing from this neighborhood to volunteer to teach other neighborhoods how to do what you've done, we would greatly appreciate it. I mean, it's just been a pleasure to work with everyone on this and to watch this go through and to see the consensus that has been gained in this neighborhood.
Anyone else online? Okay, Ms. Kelly.
I just had a question. Is the whole thing age restricted to 55 plus?
No.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
This is Steve. This is Steve, Mrs. Kelly. No, it's not age restricted. It's age targeted. It's not age restricted.
Not at all?
Right.
None of it is age restricted?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, then my only other comment then, I think it's a great project, but, you know, negative Nelly here. I don't understand how it could not impact traffic, because they said the target was 55 plus, I guess? Is that the reason you don't think it'll impact traffic? That's my question.
Well, from
I think-
our engineering department, they didn't believe that there was any concerns, partially because of the targeted age is older, and so there's not going to be the conflict in the AM and the peak time. But overall, I mean, the project is geared towards older residents, and then with the number of units, they did not feel there's a conflict there for any traffic issues.
We've done so much site improvement out there and at that intersection. I mean, it's pretty wide out there. And I go ahead, I guess I finish it up, and Dave Brackenoff, I think it was 4.5 years ago when you and I met in the Starbucks at Marsh and started having conversations really up on this, and I can't believe it's been that long. So hats off to you being an HOA president. I think that's probably more of a heavy lift than sometimes being on city council, but Steve and crew, and John Hart particularly, and Todd May, and you guys know I absolutely love that product. I love your guys' product. I lived in your product for a while over at the Hamilton. I am jumping for joy to see this project go through. I mean, it's sadly needed. The golf course itself could be a fabulous amenity, and it's just been so neglected that me, a golfer, really won't go play it because it's not in the shape you want to do that. This is going to revitalize that and really give it some super character around there, as well as preserve everything that the Gray Eagle residents wanted. And trust me, I have way too many friends in Gray Eagle that chirped in my ear. And just pointed out, so from the last item we had on the agenda to this one, again, I talk about the amount of responses that I get from the public when we do things, and most of the time, it's very nominal. It's 3, 4, 5, 10 maybe. You know, I went from an extreme of 50 negatively on the last one that we just approved. I don't believe I've ever received that many positive emails from residents in my 4 terms on city council than from the Gray Eagle residents. So thank you for that, because those were actually a joy reading from most of the mail that we do get. So I am fully supportive of this. I can't wait to see it on city council on the 15th. So with that being said, unless there's any other comments, I'm going to call for the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, or for recommendation.
For favorable recommendation.
Favorable recommendation, correct.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Selena seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number C, text amendment, ordinance 122120G. Tony?
This would be Jesse Bush.
Oh, sorry, Jesse, I missed you. Or it says Megan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, good evening, members of the Plan Commission. For the record, Megan Schaefer with the Planning and Zoning Department. Can everyone see my screen all right? And I would just ask if everyone could just mute their microphone. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Thank you. So this item is for a text amendment to the Vermillion PUD ordinance. So the exhibit shown before you is the site plan for the development, and circled in red is the area that the subject area that the text amendment is targeting. So what is being proposed is a reduction in the front yard setback that would affect 10 total lots on this site. And it's really in response to grading requirements from the Army Corps of Engineers. So there we go. So on the left-hand side is the original layout for this section. As And on the right side is the revised layout. So as you can see, they're pretty similar. Really, the only change is going to be that there's going to be a loss of one lot, and that's going to be along 101st Street here. So there's a loss of one lot on this cul-de-sac, and then the reduction in the front yard setback. So the PUD ordinance currently requires a 30-foot front setback, and they are proposing a 20-foot, so just 10 feet. You can kind of see here that these are pushed a little bit closer to the road, but overall, not a significant impact in our eyes. Here's just the language that's being added to the ordinance itself. Just a footnote to that section of Vermillion for those specific lots that it's impacting. So with that, staff doesn't really have any additional comments. We are supportive of this request. And then Doug Wagner with Republic is on the line as well if he has any additional comments.
I'll move it over to the petitioner. Would the petitioner like to make any comments?
Thank you, Megan. This is Doug Wagner. I'm with Republic Development. Also, I believe online we have Jim Pence with Y Engineering, if there's any engineering questions, as well as Larry Moon with Republic Development. If you go back to that first map, Megan, just the overall, basically our original zoning on this property was back in '06, and we had kind of laid out a design for that area in red back in that time. The development started most of the construction up along Connecticut Road, which is that bisecting diagonal road in the middle. And we kind of worked north with Flat Fork and to the south with Vermillion. It wasn't until I think 2019 that we actually submitted construction plans on the woods at Vermillion Section 4, which is that area in red. At that time, we walked the site with the county surveyor and realized that there had been some really bad erosion. I mean, all those years, that farm field and everything to the south had just maintained, we just kept farming it and left it pretty much natural, but there had been a lot of erosion. You can see that the two cul-de-sacs, the southern cul-de-sac is kind of pigeoned between 101st Street, and then there's a ravine that runs between those two cul-de-sacs. And then to the north, there is another ravine that we put the lake in there. The lake is actually on the other side of the ravine. So it was kind of a tight space, but it worked out relatively well. But with the erosion, we found that a lot of the lots were really hanging over the banks and just weren't very buildable. The county surveyor wanted us to make some repairs, which a lot of the repairs they like seeing done are not approved by DNR and IDEM and the Army Corps of Engineers. So we had to go in and file some permits with them. And in an effort to keep everyone happy, we did make some minor design changes, but came to the conclusion that it was best if we asked for a 20-foot building setback reduction, or a reduction down to 20 foot. And it's actually only for 6 lots, the 6 lots that were on there. On that, if you go to that last page that you had, Megan, the only change, I know you got the whole PUD because staff asked us to actually do a PUD amendment. Of that entire packet and that entire PUD, the only change is the little red caveat box you see up in the chart. And it's just a caveat number that references the additional language at the bottom. And we referenced 6 lots that we felt it was more important to put that 10 foot that was going to be in the front yard, more in the backyard, to make the homes, these are family homes, to make the homes a little more favorable for the families as well as safer for the home's construction itself. Vermillion's over 600 lots, and we're asking for a reduction of 6 lots in the entire subdivision. So with that, I know Jim's on board. I believe I saw his initials in there earlier, but as well as Larry, if you have any questions, we would be glad to entertain those questions. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and open it up for public hearing. Do we have any members in the audience who would like to speak on this topic? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Please note that we did have means and methods to satisfy the public hearing clause for statute. I didn't remember receiving any. Did we receive any, Tony?
No, I think initially we had some calls because there was confusion with the last legal notice, but no, I received no negative comments.
Right, I don't believe I saw any either. Any comments from Planning Commission members?
Megan, can you end your share screen?
Anybody like to make any comments from planning commission members? If not, I'll ask for a motion. Unless, Ann, you have something. Okay.
I'll
Motion,
make a, oh, go ahead, Selena.
motion for favorable approval.
Okay,
I'll
motion by
second that.
Selena. Second by Howard. Was that Howard?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Seeing none, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Item DTA-20-4 Parkside PUD. And this is Jesse.
Thank you, Pete. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For the record, Jesse Bochelle, Planning and Zoning. The item before you is TA 20-4 Parkside PUD. This proposed text amendment is in regards to the following site, 12915 Parkside Drive. Just to give you an overview of what's allowed in the Parkside PUD, it's commercial, industrial, and this subject site, which is a parent tract of 17 acres, was received a text amendment in 2011 to allow for a senior apartment facility to go here, and subsequently did in 2017 as well. This text amendment seeks to clean up language that's related to the parking requirements that were approved in the 2011 and 2017 ordinances. The 2011 said 1.33 parking spaces per unit. 2017 said 1.08. Petitioner is seeking the 1.08 parking spaces, or 175 total for the 162 unit facility. The text amendment will also be addressing a 30-foot tree preservation area that is on the eastern property line along this along the eastern property line that was incorporated into the PUD. The PUD states in the ordinance that if any utility agency was to come in and needed to remove the trees for any installation of utilities that or public agency, that they could. And Vectren, which is the gas utility for this area, is planning a gas line extension that will require for that 30-foot tree preservation area to be eliminated. As such, the petitioner, Man Properties, is seeking to rid the ordinance of that language to propose a new amendment to this, allowing for a 6-foot privacy fence along the eastern property line with a 30-foot green space with a 10-foot landscape strip. So it would be a comparable to what is there now, is to allow for the installation of the gas line. Just to give you an idea here is the exhibit provided to us shown, just showing where the gas pipeline will be installed, as well as the 6-foot PVC fence, as well as the green space and landscaping in this area. Staff recommends approval of this proposed text amendment, as this provides a solution to an issue that would be visually pleasing for those that live to the east of this property. Regardless of the outcome of this, that tree preservation area will be removed by Vectren, but the petitioner is seeking a solution that is favorable for the residents to the east, so that it is, that they can be a good neighbor. Tim Stevens with Man Properties is in attendance if you have any additional questions. Thank you.
Hi. For the record, my name is Tim Stevens. I'm the Director of Development for Man Properties, and I'm here on behalf of Man Properties LLP to ask for your approval of our text amendment. I don't really have a lot to add from what Jesse said. The tweaks to this are really minor. What we ended up having to do was to reduce our parking to a ratio, because the prior ordinance specified 175 parking spaces for the 162 units, and that was kind of a rigid requirement. we have a prospective user who would dial it back, who wouldn't do the full 162. So if we didn't have 162 units, we would not have a need for 175 spaces. We'd dial it back, on a pro rata basis. So we talked to the staff, and they said it would be better to express that as a ratio, 1.08 parking spaces per unit, that they wouldn't have the administrative flexibility to dial it back on their own because it's specified an absolute 175 space number. So that's kind of why we find ourselves here. And Jesse, I think, explained the tree preservation area requirement pretty well. The 10 acres that we're talking about is a wooded area, and that strip of land, unfortunately, is going to get cleared by Vectren. They're requiring it from us. We have a condemnation letter. We believe we'll reach a resolution with them, but they have notified us that they will take that 40-foot strip of land in order to put in a high-pressure gas main. So we talked to the staff, we talked to Vectren. Everybody thought it would be a good idea to codify that part of it into our PUD ordinance so that everybody knew what the landscaping and what the requirements were, that we were not removing the trees, and that it would instead be a green space strip with some landscaping on the westerly edge. So that's really all I have. It's a very minor tweak of the requirements. There was one more thing I forgot to mention. The 2-bedroom, 1.5-bath apartments from the prior 2018 ordinance specified 890 square feet. Our current prospective buyer would do 855. We didn't think that was a big deal, but it was in the ordinance, so we changed that too. So with those couple little tweaks and then the landscaping, I'd be happy to answer any questions that members might have.
Terrific, thank you. I'll go ahead and open this for public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this topic, please raise your hand and come forward. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Note that everybody was given proper ways to contribute on the public hearing portion, satisfying state statute. Is there any comments from Planning Commission? Or a motion?
This is Howard. I would just make a comment. I'm going to recuse myself from voting on this matter. I am counsel for Vectren on some of their right-of-way acquisition matters and also their domain cases. So I could potentially be involved with this matter. So with that, I will recuse myself.
Thank you, Howard.
Thanks, Howard. And anybody else on Planning Commission, any comments or a motion?
I'll make a favorable recommendation. Motion.
Thank you, Todd.
Second.
Second was Selena. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That's you, Howard.
Yes,
Okay.
I was on mute.
All favorables and one abstention. So motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Moving on to our last item on our last before new business and whatnot. Item E, TA 20-5, Play School at Saxony. And let's see, Jesse has this one again. Working hard tonight, Jesse. We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thanks, Pete. Can you see my screen again?
Yeah.
Can you see my, perfect.
Yes.
All right. For the record, Jesse Boschel, Planning and Zoning. The item before you is TA 20-5, Play School at Saxony. Just to give you an idea of where this is located at the corner of 131st Street and Pennington Road. Property is zoned PUD-M, so it's in the Saxony PUD, which is PUD-M for mixed use. So there's a mixture of uses ranging from commercial, different housing types, that sort of thing. Just to give you an idea of what the petitioner is seeking here, they own this parcel right here, and add 0.75 acres to their property to allow for an expansion to their overall site. Just wanted to give you an overview. I know that we received some comments at the 11th hour today that were forwarded on to you about this proposed addition around 4 and 5 o'clock. Just wanted to show you in 2006, nothing existed here and homes started getting built in the Carriage Manor at Saxony. 2007, this is when the play school was developed first, and just showing homes being constructed as well up close here, showing you the initial building. 2013, as you can see, there's more density in the Carriage Manor at Saxony, as well as there is an addition that has been added on to the building play school at Saxony. Just another up close image of that to show you fresh construction there. So just as I said, the play school at Saxony is wishing to add 0.75 acres from the property to the east to this as part of the C1 zoning designation of the Saxony PUD. They would, if this is approved, they will be constructing a gymnasium on the west side of their property and will be constructing the parking on the east. They are unable to build the building on the eastern side due to some easements that exist, as well as utilities. Just due to how they would have to connect, it was just very unfeasible. The petitioner has been working with the city on this project. Just to show you the existing map of the from the Saxony PUD that exists today. This is considered C1 multifamily residential, which I know that was a comment that was made in one of the emails that was sent to you all this afternoon. Just to show you what the uses are on this, R1, R2, R3, R4, M1, M2, and C1. The use of the play school at Saxony is under C1, so it is an allowed use. And the PUD would just be, the text amendment would just be adding this area into the overall mapping of the Saxony PUD. Just give you a close-up here. The petitioner has filed for a replat of this property that would consist of the existing property as well as the 0.75 acres that they would be purchasing from the Albers addition that fronts Pennington Road, as well as land from the Saxony Office Park. This 0.75 acres is currently not a part of the city of Fishers, but it will become, they will be annexing that land once it has been approved. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer, but Brian Cross with Civil Site Group is also in attendance and can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Brian Cross, Civil Site Group, offices at 160 West Carmel Drive, Carmel, Indiana. Very well done, Jesse. Thank you for your time and efforts on this project. I know we've been collaborating with staff for about a year, several meetings with the engineering department as well. The original intent was to look at doing a building addition on the east side of their current facility, but due to constraints, encumbrances, different easements, it turned out to be infeasible on that part of it. We went back to the drawing board and we looked at what we could do on the existing parking lot side of the existing site. But we're here tonight to really discuss the petition for the rezoning text amendment. It is 0.75 acres. It comprises of two different parcels ownerships. One is by Saxony Office Park along 131st Street, and the other parcels are owned by Nicole Albers. So the play school at Saxony does have purchase agreements in place. We are hopeful to get the rezoning petition completed here in the spring, and we'll move forward with detailed design and construction, later this year. Some of the comments that came in, I did have a chance to review those as well, Jesse, from the neighbor in the Carriage Manor subdivision. You touched on the C1 district. That has been written in the Saxony PUD ordinance since the beginning, when that ordinance was developed in the matrix table on land uses. You covered that. One of the other concerns that the property owner mentioned were larger facility may create an impact to house values, increased traffic, and additional noise. I will say that the play school is currently licensed for 164 kids. With the addition, which is approximately 11,000 square feet, they'll be adding 30 kids. So this addition doesn't really support that many classrooms. It's more like an amenity change of what they're now seeing in the flux of childcare and early childhood development. There are currently adding an addition of a gymnasium on their play school at Arbor Village location at 116th and Hoosier Road. The gymnasium itself will serve as indoor space for recreation for the kids, obviously in the winter months, perfect time of year in February. They can't go outside to play, different activities that they can also enjoy. And then having the ability for the kindergartners ages, which are much more active than what the smaller infant rooms are, to be able to have a place to go to. They also add a kids cooking kitchen. That's kind of a new item to be able to teach youngsters the importance of how to get around in the kitchen area with the different foods and learn what you shouldn't be doing around certain appliances in the kitchens. Jesse already touched on the fact that this was originally built in 2007. It was 9,600 square feet. 2012, they started a building addition, added another 2,000 square feet. So we have in the commitments to the Plan Commission have addressed and targeted the two properties that are part of the their text amendment petition owned by Nicole Albers. We have commitments in our purchase agreement to add fencing and landscaping. Those have been reiterated in the commitments to the Plan Commission, along with the southern property owner adjacent to this 0.75 acres with fencing and landscaping. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions by anybody.
Thank you. I'll open it up for public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak on this topic? There we go.
Thank you so much. I am Karen Byers. I live at 13163 North Elster Way. I've lived in Saxony for 10 years, and 7 years of those 10 have been in Carriage Manor. I live directly behind the play school, and I think a lot of people, when they heard that there was going to be an addition, I think they thought they're going to build the family center, the gym on the east side, but now I realize that that's actually going to be my view from my home. So it's kind of gone from bad to worse. My daughter also lives in Saxony. She's been there for 13 years. Used to live right next door to the play school, which was divided by a 6-foot shadow box privacy fence, which is what is proposed of being erected to surround the property with the addition. However, a year ago, they tore down that unkempt fence and put up a see-through metal fence without consulting the Saxony Homeowners Association, because we're under a different HOA. And now the people that bought my daughter's home that live right, literally the playground is right here, she cannot go outside with her child without kids talking to her and asking her what she's doing all the time. Noise is loud. There are children screaming. There are caregivers screaming. I cannot raise my windows in the summer, and like if I want to lay down and take a nap or whatever. So it is, besides the increased traffic, there's a lot of people and a lot of kids that ride bikes, rollerblade, skateboard around that Saxony area. If you've got more entrances coming in to 131st, I see that and many others too as a traffic issue. And we appreciate the fact that there's a child care in the neighborhood. But this is not like Arbor Village location or the Legacy location for play school that is pretty much next to a multi-family places like apartments. And if I can have Jesse bring up the proposed map, it lists, I mean, Carriage Manor is not even, and which is a part of Saxony, is not even on that map. The multi-family implies that it's an apartment complex. Carriage Manor abuts that space on the south and west sides of play school. You enlarge that, that's going to impact, I mean, our property values. that's an eyesore to have a two-story facility there. And so it's not the same. I mean, that area around the carriage of the play school is the same as what D should be of a neighborhood that's residential. We are single-family homes. And so we bought those homes knowing that the play school's there. Okay, they expanded once. But now to have a gym added, and a parking lot and that added traffic, and the increased noise level, even if it's 30 kids, I'm telling you. It's also, before my 3 minutes are up, they mentioned that they are going to build the 6-foot shadow box fence. We're requesting that the metal fence that they erected last year, if this is approved, that the fencing be uniform, that they don't have this kind of fence and then the metal fence and then the wooden fence, but it's uniform, and that they maintain it. My daughter used to have to go into the playground area and repair the fence herself. So this has been an ongoing problem. There's no privacy there with that see-through fence. And so we asked that they would consider being good neighbors, and take care of their property. I did send my comments. I was the 11th hour person, just due to several family issues. I had the chance to look at this today, and it was, I rooted around and found the documents, and I see that it's, the gym is now on the west side, and there are commitments about the fence that we're concerned about. But overall, the people in Carriage Manor do not support this. And I'm like the token representative. So I thank you for your time. And I understand that this goes to City Council after this, if it gets favorable recommendation.
Goes either way.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your comments. Seeing no one else in the audience, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, noting that we also had plenty of means to go ahead and have remonstrance online, so those comments can be made in accordance with state statute. Is there any comments from, I guess, Jesse, do you want to talk about anything the remonstrator just mentioned, or you want me to turn it over to Planning Commission?
Yeah, Pete, I'll go ahead. I'll talk about the C1 district there that was referenced. So just to go back here to the zoning. So this is Carriage Manor right here. This overall site is part of the Saxony PUD. So it is considered C1 multifamily residential, which I showed the uses, which are R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, M1, M2, and C1. Just because it's labeled that way, that's not how it developed. It developed as you would see a single family residential in R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5. But at the time when this was established, there were thoughts that there might be multifamily like what is across the street from the play school that would be developed, but that is not what happened. So the zoning, the proposed map is correct on that. Entrance-wise, they are, I bring that up for you here. If I can find it. Here we go. So they are going to eliminate this one right here, and then it'll just have, 2 entrances there, the ability to drop off in front of the building and then exit out onto 131st Street. So, there won't be an additional curb cut that'll be needed for this project. The parking, it's about 10 to 12 more spaces than they have existing now. It's not a very excessive amount of parking that they will be adding to the overall project. And regarding the fencing, that is definitely something that we can work on with the petitioner if this moves forward, to make sure that it is uniform. And that would be discussed as part of the overall TAC review, but we can also address that offline moving further. So that's all I have. And Brian, if you If Brian has any additional comments, please feel free, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Again, Brian Cross at Civil Site Group. So you did touch on the point that the parking lot, the displacement of those spaces are really just being mirrored over to the east. I know we're talking in more detail about the site plan. I want to just maybe bring it back down to the real petition right now is for the rezoning of the 0.75 acres. We always want to supply a concept site plan so people have vision of what we're doing and transparency. So the shaded area that Jesse just shows there on his shared screen, that would comprise of the 2.15 acres entirely of the play school at that point. We'll certainly work with staff, through the detailed development plan and review process. I did receive communication from one of the owners at the play school. They are viewing this hearing online. They did receive fence approval from the Saxony Design Review Board. They submitted their application. They replaced that fence, I believe, last year or 18 months ago. There was several sections of the fence that the neighbor had referenced that were rotted and disrepair. So they made the capital investment to replace their playground fencing to meet state licensing requirements, and that they chose a white fence. It's an aluminum metal picket fence, and that was approved by the Saxony Design Review Board. Secondly, all of this will have to be approved by the Saxony Design Review Board, PUD committee, as we go through the detailed development plan process as well. So I would just ask the commission to advance this with a favorable recommendation to the council, and thank you.
You only get one chance, ma'am. You can have a chance at council if you want one. But, so I want to make sure so the commission can understand this. We are just going for a PUD amendment here. Is that correct, Tony?
That is correct, Pete.
Okay.
Yes.
So from the standpoint of what would happen next, any other building changes that go on would still come back before the PUD committee, yes? Right? To be approved there, to make sure it fits with the fit and finish of that. Would it then come before planning commission again, or PUD committee only?
It would not. So,
Okay.
I want to be transparent though. So by the rezone being approved, it does open the door for the improvements. So even though the concept plans aren't being necessarily approved here today, the expansion does allow for them to, the expansion of the zoning will accommodate the expansion of the use. So, but architecturally, it would have to be approved by the PUD and Saxony, and then it would have to be approved by TAC for all the technical review. So yeah, that's.
Just want to make sure we understand everybody's out in planning commission where our kind of roadmap is here. So, hearing that, is there any comments or questions from the commission members?
If there's none, Pete, I'll make a favorable recommendation motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, that was, I believe that was Kim who seconded
Correct.
that. And
Yep.
did you have any comments? Okay, didn't have any comments. And quickly, I'm okay with making the favorable recommendation. I will tell you that from my standpoint, okay, let's get consistency in the fence. My motion would be, let's get on board and not have 3 different fences that are going around the property. I think that's the least thing we could do in the neighborhood. So I guess my friendly amendment to that would be send it back with a favorable recommendation to make sure all the fencing around the new property is consistent with itself.
And in good repair. It's consistent
Again, so
and
it's
in good
consistent
repair.
and repaired. I think that goes along with that, but I'm okay with that too. So that would be my add-on to the motion if you guys are okay with that.
I am.
That's fine with me.
Okay,
I'll second that,
I guess we have a motion and a amendment and a second on the amendment. So, everyone in favor of sending a favorable recommendation with making sure the fencing is maintained and is consistent around the property to send that to city council. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, moving on, we're going to go to new business. Tony,
Yes, so for one item, we will need with Brad Dreamer no longer on the Plan Commission. He was serving as a member to the Plat Committee that we formed so that the Plan Commission no longer had to review the plats in front of the public hearing process to streamline it. So with that, our new Plan Commission member, Selena Stoller, has offered to volunteer unless someone else would like to join Rodney and myself on Thursday evenings, once a month. With that, we would ask for an appointment of Selena Stoller.
I'll make that motion to appoint Selena Stoller to the Plot Committee for Fun and Excitement with Rodney and Tony.
I'll second.
Okay. It's a Plot Committee?
Plat Committee appointment.
Plot.
I don't know if I need to say thanks or not. I haven't quite decided yet.
Wait for a month, Selena, then you can come back to
unless,
us.
unless there's anyone else who wants to go ahead and nominate themselves, I think, do we have to take a vote on that?
Yeah, it's appointment.
Okay, it's an appointment, so motion's been made and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstain? Okay. Brad Dreamer has decided that he no longer wanted to be in Planning Commission, so it left an opening. City Council members basically filled it with Selena Stoller. Brad is not on Planning Commission as here moving forward. Okay, so now we'll move to old business. Tony, any old business?
No, none.
No old business. Any staff communication?
Nothing further.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.